Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and I just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about something that is very, very common in narcissistic relationships, and that is the attempt to attain power positions. You know, after so many arguments with narcissists, you begin to realize that they haven't actually answered you or addressed any of the topics at hand. All they've done is deny, deflect, distract, avoid, explode, or run away. You're left kind of sitting there thinking, hey, wait a minute, you never answered me, or they didn't address this. After so many more arguments with a narcissist, you come to realize this is actually all they have ever done. They've never addressed the topic. They've never answered your question. After so many more arguments, you realize this is all they're ever going to do. Narcissists believe they are attaining a power position by not listening to you, by not considering your side, by being unreasonable. This is very important to understand because it's a big reason communication with them is not possible. It doesn't matter how they do it, whether it's deliberate, whether it's unconscious. If it's the silent treatment, ranting over you, condescending, screaming, physically attacking you to try to shut you up, turning things around on you, shaming you, walking away, it all means the same thing, and it all accomplishes the same goal. They don't want to hear what you're saying. Narcissistic people seem to legitimately believe that entertaining anything the other person is saying renders them vulnerable. They appear to view arguments and discussions about conflict or problems as the other person just trying to convince and manipulate them or trying to trick them. So they defend themselves and they believe they're holding a power position by refusing to listen no matter what. How far do you think you're going to get with someone who hears only attempts to manipulate and trick them, no matter what you say? How far do you think you're going to get with someone who legitimately believes that listening to other people is some kind of dangerous act that renders them weak, right? You're not going to get very far. And over time, you will see that. It's unfortunate, but these are fragile people and they are afraid a lot of the time. So they search for ways to control and be in a power position because they're afraid. For example, refusing to be pleased. An abuser in a relationship who refuses to be pleased is making a power play. They're trying to attain a power position. They won't accept any attempts to please them, but they keep insisting that the other person needs to try harder because it's that person's fault that they're unhappy. Then they keep saying that nothing is good enough and the other person is failing them. This is seen by them as a power position, such as with children who have just discovered saying no. They just say no about everything. Narcissistic people think this keeps them in a power position, but really they're just making themselves unhappy. Blaming other people for it might alleviate any of their shame triggered by being blamed or feeling responsible, but it doesn't help them be any happier, especially because people get tired of being treated that way and they exit the relationship. The torture of living through this type of relationship is not describable. It's unspeakable. But it's even more horrible in some ways because the abuser is also torturing themselves, and they're doing all of this for literally no reason. They're making everybody in the relationship or the situation totally miserable, including themselves, for nothing. It's just a never-ending cycle of misery. Excuse me. You know, the truth is, it is just not realistic to believe you can live happily ever after with a person who legitimately, genuinely believes being asked for respect and decency and to be listened to is somehow being controlled by the other person. If an adult person does not understand that they are required to listen and to show respect and decency in a relationship, it's not your job to teach them, and you're not going to be able to do that anyway. Your purpose in a relationship with a narcissist is to be used to regulate their emotions. It's not to be afforded respect and decency and as an equal partner and someone whose emotions and feelings and opinions and beliefs and thoughts deserve to be respected. Your job is as a tool. Your purpose is that they use you to help regulate themselves. That means, to help them to feel better, to put it very, very simply. Now, this doesn't just mean fixing their problems and propping them up when they need it. It also means that you are the target of the constant negative emotion and stress they continually purge because they can't process or hold on to it. They have to just keep trying to pump it out. They need a place to spew all of that. You are the receptacle for it. This makes you the psychological equivalent of a toilet. Just think about that. You are so much more than a receptacle for somebody's toxic self-hatred and psychological vomit. And I really, really hope that you understand and believe that. You deserve so much more. There's no way to explain to a pathologically narcissistic person so that they're going to actually understand that you are a human being with rights and feelings, or that this matters at all. They don't even understand themselves as human beings, or what being a human being even means. Don't let any of that make you forget that you are one. Being in a relationship with someone who is pathologically narcissistic can make it easy to forget what real life with real people is like. Don't let that happen. There are people who will not punish you for being imperfect. There are people who will believe you when you say something. There are people who will get to know you and understand what you're actually like. There are people who can be reasoned with. There are people who understand that everybody makes mistakes. There are people who don't blame everybody else for every single thing. There are people who will actually talk things out. There are people who can actually communicate. There are people who will tell you what the problem is instead of insisting that you guess or that you should already know. There are people who will never pretend to misunderstand you. Not even once. They won't even do it one time. There are people who will ask you for your thoughts, your feelings, and your meanings instead of telling you what these things are. There are people who will not insist that you are evil and malicious or stupid and clumsy and ugly and whatever else horrible things that these people say. There are people who will actually listen to you. There are people who are not narcissists and who don't act like them. So don't forget that. Don't forget what real life with real people is like, because you are worth so much more than the narcissist in your life is able to give you. So I hope that clears a few things up for you. May the Great Spirit bless you. You have a beautiful day.